Today we're talking about AEW Revolution 2026. It is going to be coming to you live from the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, California, marking the second consecutive year that Revolution will be hosted at this venue. There is, I believe, like 11 matches scheduled for the actual event, not including a few of the pre-show matches. So we're going to break it on down like a shotgun. I'm going to give you my predictions on the event and where I see things going forward with the storylines that they have thus far. AEW has essentially been gaining more momentum. It's not the type of momentum that's going to halt WWE's momentum in the slightest, but WWE, to their own chagrin, are actually losing a little bit of the momentum. There has been a lot of criticism on the consistency of WWE and their programming. More specifically, when you look at WWE Raw or SmackDown, there is not this cohesive flow with the shows. It's just you go from segment to segment to segment. In AEW Dynamite, I haven't really been watching Collision, admittedly, but what I've seen with Dynamite is there does seem to be a flow. Not always cohesive, mind you, but there is a certain flow to the show and the way that it's set up. They're doing a lot better by balancing out matches after matches, just banging matches at you, hammering matches into you. This time it seems like they're doing a little bit of a balance. You get backstage segments, you get video packages, you get at ringside interviews, you get, storyline progressions, maybe not the storylines that are going to wow us with comments like, wow, that's cinema or something like that, but they are storyline progressions nonetheless. And with Revolution, aside from a few matches that they just kind of mashed together because they look like they would be, the two wrestlers that are wrestling or the other wrestlers that are wrestling would work well with one another. There'd be some chemistry. Aside from a few of those matches, there is, believe it or not, some story going on here. So we're going to talk about it. The first match that I want to talk about is Toni Storm against Marina Shafir. Everyone is banned from ringside in this match. This has been a build-up, that has been going on for a couple of months, since about January or so, and it all stems from Marina Shafir and Megan Bayne as a tag team going towards the AEW Women's Tag Team titles. They ran into Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa, and Marina gave Mina Shirakawa mother's milk, which is a submission hold. It's kind of like a reverse chokeout. She's got her opponent facing towards her chest, and she's wrapped her arms around the back of their neck. Full compression of the spine and whatnot. It's actually a really interesting maneuver, but it's a great name, in my opinion. And so they've been feuding, and this looks like this is going to be the conclusion to their feud. Toni Storm, I think, is going to come out victorious here. Toni Storm has been, it was a good idea to remove Toni Storm from the women's main event world title scene. I think it was important because you definitely wanted to build up other women into the upper to main event slot. And they didn't have a chance to do that with Toni Storm at the helm because she was just going to have to run through everybody. It was very similar to what Mercedes Moné was doing, and I'm glad that was something that Tony Khan caught, so that he didn't end up in a situation where there were very similar trajectories for their champions. So it was nice that instead what happened was they defied Toni Storm down, and they started to prop up other talent, like, Chris Statlander, Alex Winza, Tekla, who's the current AEW World Women's Champion, and gave them an opportunity to really rise above the mid-card rankings and move up to a main event slot. So very interesting that they decided to do that, but I don't know if, and speaking honestly, I don't know if that actually helped Toni Storm very much. Seems to me like she was just kind of swimming around. She was doing her thing with Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford and Marina Shirakawa, but Marina Shafir, while teaming with Mina Shirakawa. And it really didn't seem like it did much for Toni Storm, but she is Teflon at this point. There's really not anything that she could conceivably do within reason, of course, that's going to have the fans lose faith in her and her abilities at the top of the card if she was to choose to get back into the top of the card. But I don't know if defying her down really did much. So I think this is going to be the start after this match of her getting back on track and going after the AEW Women's World Championship. She could also go after the TBS Championship, but I do have the strong feeling that she'll potentially go after the AEW World Women's Championship again. I'm very entertained at the idea of a Tekla Toni Storm program. Tekla has got she's this big ball of fire, energy, and intensity, and Toni Storm is very thematic and classic, and so it would be interesting to see those two kind of interact with one another. They're from two different worlds, essentially. And with that being said, I've got Toni Storm coming out victorious here. With everyone being banned at ringside, I wonder if someone's going to break that rule. We'll see how it happens. We'll see where we go with it. But, that's going to be interesting. But I got Toni Storm coming out victorious here. I wouldn't be surprised if Marina Shafir won that in the slightest. I know that's kind of hedging my bets there, but I really wouldn't be surprised if she came out victorious. But I think that for the benefit of Toni Storm and probably getting her back into the main event scene, because their title scene is, it's wrought with a bunch of great talent, and you want to put her in that spot to be a formidable challenger. I think Toni Storm wins it. Moving on, we've got the Trios match for the World Trios Championships. The newly crowned champions, the Don Callis family, consisting of Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis, defend against Jet Speed, Kevin Knight, and Mike Bailey, and Mystico. Now, maybe I missed it. Like I said, I don't watch Collision all that much, but I am not aware of a reason why Mystico would be working with Jet Speed in any form or fashion. Now, it could also be a possibility that they ran across each other in CMLL and they had a trios match over on that side. Didn't really catch up on that as well. So for any of you guys that are aware of the reason why Jet Speed decided to choose Mystico, aside from just a random choice, you guys let me know in the comments, and I'd love to know about the story, the backstory behind that. As far as the outcome goes, I think it's pretty clear here. If it would have been Takeshita, Fletcher, and Okada, I would have been more inclined to go with Mystico and Jet Speed, considering you basically have the Don Callis, some of their top guys here. I think you're going to see a retaining of the World Trios Championships. I don't know if they're going to try to progress storyline with Takeshita or if they're going to hold that off until the Moxley match. I feel that the Moxley match will be the match where we see that, but I will talk about that as this predictions video progresses. Moving on, we've got the aforementioned AEW World Women's Champion, Tekla. She defends against Chris Statlander. This is going to be billed as a 2 out of 3 falls match for the AEW World Women's Championship. The rumor and innuendo circling around the internet is that Chris Statlander's contract is coming up and that she may not be re-signing with AEW. Believe that or not. And of course, this is all just rumor and innuendo. Nothing made official here yet. Not sure why Statlander would want to leave for leave AEW other than for the opportunity to go to the WWE and hone in on a character and really try to make something of that. Then she could potentially take that character back to AEW and be way more of a big deal. One of the things that I've seen with certain superstars in AEW, more specifically, now that we're talking about it, Chris Statlander, is that she's still looking for an identity. She's still looking for a way to, ingratiate herself to the AEW audience, to get them to love her. She doesn't have a catchphrase. She's changing characters like Goldust changed characters when he was teaming with Booker T in the early millennium. She is looking for something to stick, and she's not confident to hang around and wait for that something to just kind of fall into her lap. She's going out and she's trying new things. And I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know if it's her ability to listen to critiques or just her ability to freak out and get anxious when she's not sure if this thing that she's trying is getting over. But whatever it is, the freedom that AEW provides for these superstars to come up with these characters, with Chris Statlander for an example, there's a situation where she's not finding it, and maybe going to another company, maybe not even WWE, and trying to figure that out is the way to go. And with that being said, I've got Tekla coming out victorious here in this 2 out of 3 falls match. I think you really want to establish Tekla's reign here as something more than just a transitional champion. And, of course, you've got Toni Storm lurking around. Mercedes Moné, I think she's down to, 6 belts left, so she's going to be losing those 6 titles at some point or another. So I would like to see something with Mercedes Moné returning and possibly challenging Tekla. You know, the Rogues Gallery idea that's coming out from the Batman franchise can be applied here with Tekla in a very, very successful way. With all of these challengers coming out of the woodwork, we've already seen Thunder Rosa make her return to AEW. So, of course, you've got Britt Baker hanging around, and she can be involved as well. So I think Tekla as the champion, given that she gets more primetime airtime on Dynamite, can be huge. And I look forward to seeing what else they have in store for her reign, and I got her winning. In a singles match, Bandito battles Andrade El Idolo. Now, they touched upon a little bit of a story here where Andrade is so vain and obnoxious and egotistical that he wasn't sure if Bandito was a wrestler or if he was just a fan. I loved that, but they haven't capitalized on that. At least they haven't capitalized on that in Dynamite. And, really didn't go anywhere after that. Selfies or... maybe one of Andrade's ladies likes Bandito. They could have explored a lot more here, and they failed to do that. As far as the match goes, these guys are going to have a great match with their eyes closed and one hand tied behind their back doing the hops on one leg. They're going to do a great match no matter what. So you really don't need a story. I mean, these guys don't have to go out there and tell a great story through backstage segments and promos and things like that. They will tell a story in the ring, and I think this match has the potential to steal the show. With that being said, I've got Andrade El Idolo coming out victorious. I mean, it looks like they really like Andrade El Idolo, and they're really getting the batteries in his back and getting him up the card. And I think this is a good way of keeping that, because I believe Bandito is still Ring of Honor World Champion. So if they so choose to do that, the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view, they can actually have this as a rematch for the Ring of Honor World Championship, which I wouldn't mind that at all. That's a heck of a match on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So Andrade comes out victorious. Speaking of Bandito, his tag team partner, Brody King, will be battling Swerve Strickland. Now, they've been brawling all for the last 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks or so, and this match is just going to be a regular old singles match, which leads me to believe that there could be potential for a screw job, for a referee to get knocked out, maybe a DQ, maybe a count out, maybe a no contest, maybe they battle all the way to the streets of Los Angeles, California, all the way up into Skid Row. Who knows what could happen here? But considering it's not false count anywhere, no disqualification, something along the lines of that, so they can really accentuate this idea of these guys taking it to the streets if they so choose. I do believe that there can be a situation where you get a double disqualification or something of that regard. I am not going to predict that, however, although I definitely can see that happening. Instead, I'm going to go with Swerve Strickland here, because what you want to do is establish the momentum of Swerve in his new character, becoming a bad guy, if you will, and where he will go after this is probably for the AEW World Championship. And I think there's an idea that I have here that's just probably too good to pass up, but we'll see if it actually happens, so stay tuned for that. So as far as that match goes, I got Swerve Strickland coming out on top. Next is a no time limit match for the AEW Continental Championship. I can't remember if that's the silver one or the bronze one, or maybe that one's gold. I digress. Now, Takeshita and Moxley put on a great match at the Continental Classic, and they've had a couple of matches in multi-person type scenarios since then, and it does seem like their chemistry is pretty sound. Takeshita, in my opinion, is slowly becoming the Sami Zayn, bloodline Sami Zayn, of the Don Callis family in a scenario where he is loyal but wants to do things in a way that doesn't compromise who he is, his values, and his principles. And you did see that this past Wednesday on Dynamite, where the entire group wanted him to use a steel chair on Moxley, and he refused to. That honor system could cost him the match, or it could also get him a victory and the respect from Jon Moxley as well. So it could go one of two ways here. The no time limit means this match isn't going to be under 30 minutes. It's going to be between 30 and 55 minutes. I joked online that it could go 90 minutes. I don't know if it's going to go that long. But we are more than likely going to see these guys go a full marathon here and attempt to steal the show. I got Takeshita coming out on top here. It is possible that Okada can come out and feign that he was trying to help Takeshita, but really screw that guy over. They are really stretching this type of rematch between these two as well. I don't know if they can stretch it until All Out in the end of August, but we shall see. So I got Takeshita coming out victorious here. In a tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Young Bucks battle FTR. Every single time there is an AEW pay-per-view and FTR is on the card, I make mention of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. When are these guys coming back is a mystery to us all. I thought for sure we would have seen them in Canada. That did not happen. No idea where they're going with this. They potentially could come out and cost FTR the match, or FTR can get the victory and the Cope and Christian coalition can come out afterwards. It's all up in the air. It's all possibilities that are on the table. If you ask me, I think FTR retains here. I really do. Not sure if you get a Don Callis interference at all in this. You know, there is some history there between the Bucks and the Don Callis family. Not sure if they play a factor in this match, but I have FTR coming out victorious and potentially finally getting that tag confrontation with the Christian and Copeland coalition. So we'll see if that is what they do or where they end up going. Of course, it is on the table for the Young Bucks to get the victory here, but I think you get more opponents for FTR versus more opponents for the Young Bucks, depending on which route they go. So that's why I'm going with FTR. And I still think that they, even though they don't need the tag team titles to have a match with Cope and Christian and their coalition, it is more interesting when you have the tag titles at play there. So I got FTR winning. We're going to do a tag team match. Let's see. We got a tag team match for the AEW Women's World Championship. It is the Babes of Wrath and Willow Nightingale against Megan Bayne and Lena Cross. Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron as the Babes of Wrath. Now, I think there's going to be a pre-show match involved with Lena Cross and Willow Nightingale. I think Willow comes out victorious in that pre-match, but I think when they get to the tag title match, I think Megan Bayne and Lena Cross win very, very decisively. I really do. I think they dominate. And I think that's who you want to have the tag team championships, these twin towers, if you will, that stalk over the AEW women's tag team division while Penelope Ford is gone, and there's really no one to really like hone them down. It would love to see Marina Shafir aligned with them in some form or fashion, considering her loose affiliation with them in some form or another, especially during the tag tournament, or at least specifically with Megan Bayne. Would love to see that, but don't know if we're going to get it. So I got Lena Cross and Megan Bayne coming out victorious there and winning the AEW World Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, in a trios match, you've got the Dogs, which maybe they should have been called Off the Chain, short for, or long form for OTC. They could have called them the OTC. That would have been a nice little dig there. That's some Vince Russo booking, bro. You got Gabe Kidd, Dave Finley, and Clark Connors against Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and Roderick Strong. I think they were teasing that Roderick Strong was going to turn on Orange Cassidy, and they held off on that. I think it would be a big move to do that on the pay-per-view. I like Roderick Strong as a heel more, and I'm not necessarily joining the Dogs, but also like really getting in the head and playing mind games with Orange Cassidy and his conglomeration, a stable in which Roderick Strong just can't get behind. He's not feeling it. So I actually have the Dogs coming out victorious here. I think they're going to win it. And now we've got the main event. We're already there. Last chance. Texas Death Match. Texas, I'm going to beat you up real bad match for the AEW World Championship. If Hangman Adam Page loses, he will never be able to challenge for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship ever again. Cody Rhodes. Excuse me. And MJF, there's really nothing on the line for him other than his World Championship reign. So this match can go so many different ways. And when it first was presented and I saw Swerve kind of like swimming around the AEW World Championship division, I felt that Hangman Adam Page was going to win here and then defend against Swerve. And they were going to bring that match back, which I think could be huge. However, I have since changed my mind. Drum roll. I think MJF wins. And I think they find some way, some loophole, which they didn't get a chance to actually do with Cody Rhodes, that allows Hangman Page back into the world title picture in some form or fashion. Whatever that is, I'm not sure. Whether it's Tony Khan bestowing authority figure privileges on Bryan Danielson or something like that, I could see that. Although I know there's a lot of AEW diehard fans that are not interested in an authority figure on their screen, even if it is the American Dragon. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about bringing Hangman Page back into the world title picture, and you don't have to do it in the next year or two. You can continue to accentuate the flawed characteristics of Hangman Adam Page, and then he can also reignite that feud with Swerve in the meantime while MJF continues his reign. I think they still could do a Hangman Adam Page victory and then build towards MJF eventually retaining that world championship somewhere later down the line. But I think the ultimate goal, which should be on their mind, and what this should already been written out and plotted out for Tony Khan, or from Tony Khan rather, is that MJF and Will Ospreay need to headline All In. 1,000%. Not Will Ospreay against Swerve, not Will Ospreay against Hangman Adam Page, not Will Ospreay against Samoa Joe, not Will Ospreay against Darby Allin or Kyle Fletcher or Kenny Omega or AJ Styles or FD Hutt, or I don't give a fuck. You need to go with MJF and Will Ospreay. It is the marquee main event match that should be on the billboards and in promotionals packages for a long time to come. MJF can go after Will Ospreay's wife, or so many things he could take a dig at, the injuries and all this stuff. And if there's anybody that can actually hold their own, probably not by talking a bunch of shit, but actually by sticking to who he is as a human being and conveying and communicating his message to the crowd to get them to rally behind him, it is Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay, I believe, can stand toe-to-toe with MJF in a way that a lot of people don't. Not by fighting fire with fire, but by fighting earnest truth and sincerity and spirit against MJF's cowardly attacks verbally. So I've got MJF coming out victorious here, and I think you still get a situation with Swerve Strickland later on down the line. Maybe Swerve costs Hangman the match, and then you get that ball rolling. But pay attention and keep your eyes out on Swerve here. It's going to be heartbreaking to see that Hangman Adam Page is not going to be able to challenge for the AEW World Championship again, but I think there's a great story in that, and there's some great emotion that can come from that, and there's just a great journey to get back to that opportunity to actually challenge for the World Championship again, whether he stumbles into it, whether it's bestowed upon him, or he actually fights for it and wins something like the Casino Battle Royal or Gauntlet match. I mean, could also be at play there. So I would keep your eyes on that, but I think it's more important to continue to establish MJF's world title reign to eventually give him an opportunity to defend it against Will Ospreay at All In, and that, my friends, is what I see happening. So those are my predictions for AEW Revolution. What say you? You guys let me know down in the comment section below, and if you're new around here, stay true around here, you guys. This is where all wrestling fans unite, the portal of pro wrestling, and I am the Wrestling Old Head. If you like this video and more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so that you know exactly when I drop out from the portal of pro wrestling to hit you with some hotness. Thanks for listening, you guys. I appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a comment section, and I'll see you in the next one.